actually going to speak softly today and make art and paint, and hopefully it's the most chill ASMR art session of your life. I'm excited. Starting out with blue. I probably should have started out with water, honestly, but I can probably just add some water on there. All good. Hang on. Right now, I am going to cover the canvas with blue, at least at the top of the canvas, and I'm mixing in a lot of water, so the blue might not fully show up, but like as you can see, the top of the canvas is much darker than in here where I'm adding more blue paint, and that's because there's going to be a gradient from almost black to bright blue. So yeah, I'm really excited about this painting. I love wolves. I'm a dog person, not a cat person. Not that I dislike cats, I just don't like them as much as dogs. But I would love a little kitty cat, but they also kind of bother me. Like their claws kind of piss me off a little bit. Like, and I guess it's inhumane to declaw them, so it's like you can't declaw them, and I don't know. Dogs are just more my jam, so that's why I like wolves, because technically dogs are wolves in a way. They're like domesticated wolves. Using a generous amount of paint. And spreading it side to side. You'll notice that my brush is pretty big. That allows me to cover more surface area quicker than like a small brush. It's good to see you. I'm really excited about this. I enjoy relatively simple paintings from time to time, just so I can be in the creative flow without having to mentally strain. But you know, it's interesting. The more I paint, I don't really get frustrated anymore. Like, the frustration more feels like an urgency to solve the problem that I'm faced with in the piece. And you know what I'm talking about if you paint. If you don't know what I'm talking about, maybe you can imagine. Okay, I'm gonna drink some water. Not paint water, thank goodness. I hope you're having a good night. Alright, so now this is a unique color. It's kind of like a turquoise, basically. So let me take my palette knife. Also, one of these days I'm going to do a palette knife painting. I've gotten a lot of requests to do one, and so I'm going to. I just haven't. It's a totally different vibe, you know? But I do like using the palette knife, but it kind of, some people like the sound. It kind of freaks me out a little bit, and that's why I hesitate doing it, because I don't think I personally like the palette knife sound. I mean, my one recent palette knife painting I sold pretty fast, and I think it was because it was so textured and heavy bodied. I'm almost out of white, but thankfully I'm getting more in the nails soon. My Lord have mercy. Very rude. Aw, thank you. You're beautiful too, just for being here. I have cool lighting on me today, so for the most part it's like cooler, less warm. It's a different vibe. I kind of like it for the painting because it feels a bit brighter than whenever I use like the dark blue lighting, which I've used, or dark purple, which I've used in the past. So if you know what I'm talking about, you can, you know, holla, otherwise just disregard. Okay, so I tend to use the palette knife for mixing, not as much for painting, but if you guys really want me to do one, I will. Palette knife painting. I mean, it might be super satisfying. I mean, it is, but the sound of it kind of, you know, I'm iffy about it. Like, I can handle it, but it's not my favorite. But it is a little tingly. I just don't know. My brother, he explains bad ASMR, which is not, it's bad ASMR isn't necessarily like, oh, that's bad. It's more like too strong of ASMR to where it's like hits you different, like in a weird way. I don't know if that makes sense. Alright, so the color I'm mixing here, it's this really pretty light blue from the tube with white, a little bit of fluorescent yellow on my other color palette. So I have the warm and the cool colors. These are the cool, these are the warm. You can see the difference. This kind of helps me keep the color palettes separate, and plus my color palettes are also very small. And I kind of like it. It works out. And then I added a little bit of yellow in it to make it a bit more green. Now I'm going to add just a tiny bit of red, like literally just a tiny bit of red, because red is the opposite color of green, which is essentially what this color is. And so adding the opposite color makes it a more nuanced, richer, interesting vibe, if that makes sense. All right. Everything you do in your painting matters. So this is just my first pass. I added the blue, the light blue here at the bottom of the canvas. I left a chunk of black. That's going to be the ground, okay? And I'm just going back and forth, side to side, allowing the paint to blend. As I do this, it spreads the paint really thin, which gets that blended effect, but I think it's important to not just rely on blending to get that effect. Ideally, you have a nice gradient with multiple shades of colors in between the light and the dark. And it's not relying on the blended technique, it's relying on values placed next to each other. But so this is my first pass through the gradient of the sky, meaning I'm probably gonna paint the sky multiple times, pass through it. That's the terminology painters use sometimes, like you pass through the nose. Like say if you're painting a face, you're passing through the nose, then you move on to the lips, then you pass through the nose again, then you pass through the eyes, then you pass through the other eye, then you pass through the cheek. So you're passing through everything multiple times. I hope that makes sense. It can be challenging to explain. I mean, I think at some point I could be a really good art teacher, like an official art teacher. But I want to wait till I get old, like older, you know? I don't want to have to try to like, you know, I don't want to be too close to their ages. I want to wait till I'm like at least 40, you know? Not that that's old, but that's much older than I am now, so. Like when I'm not sure what to do with myself and no one takes me seriously anymore, I'll go and become a professor or something. Like an art professor, because like by then of course I'll have established myself creatively. I do enjoy teaching actually, but I don't really I don't know if I would enjoy being in a school system where I had to like wake up early and really be the responsible one. Like the executive aspects of being a teacher, curriculums, grading, you know, meetings, all of that. It's the opposite of my freelance lifestyle, which I love so much. So like maybe if I did teach, I would do something private, maybe not through the school system, like open up a private art class for like teenagers or something. I mean, that would be really good for the community, honestly. Like to have a space like that, you know? I mean, I took a lot of private lessons when I was, you know, preteen, teenager, and it really informed who I am today as an artist, to be honest. I really got ahead of the curve in a way. Alright, so I'm taking my light blue and I'm streaking it through the dark blue to create movement in the sky. Just while the paint is wet. That's why I'm not moving onto the ground yet. While the paint is wet, I'm just kind of going through and blending it in. Almost as though, because I'm laying out the groundwork for a Milky Way type effect, where you can kind of see depth in the sky, and then like stars and whatnot. Hi, it's good to see you. Okay, I'm gonna make I need more of this. I need more light blue up in here. I need to be aggressive about it. Way better. Why does that just all of a sudden feel freaking activated? Whoa, sorry. It just feels activated. It feels like it's moving now. Okay. Big brush strokes. Alright, taking these colors, the warm colors, this fluorescent yellow, and I'm gonna just kind of blend it into this blue to give it this greenish haze here at the base of the sky. Not too much, alright, because we still want it to be kind of believable-ish, you know? That looks cool. I'm into it. I love brush strokes. They really just... It's an element of the painting that I think a lot of artists and painters have forgotten to utilize, because so many paintings are very... You can't see the brushwork, and that just, it bores me. It's so boring and ugh, like, it's not celebrating the capacity of paint, in my opinion. Of course, like, if a really good painting has parts of the painting that are refined and parts of the painting that are less refined, more textured or painterly, or just more brushstroke movement, unfinished qualities, where in other parts of the painting, more refined, more finished, more grounded, more realized. To me, that's a really healthy balance to try to look for, but that obviously requires a lot of understanding of visual nuance, and like the process of your paint has to be general to specific, and that's a whole other topic. So art's very deep. It's good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Now I'm going to focus on the ground a little bit, and yeah, so this really deals with flat colors and kind of a flat surface to create a silhouette of the trees. I'm going to use a little smaller brush. So, is that my nickname now? Interesting girl. I like it. Oh yes, my brush is broken. I thought I hot glued it back together, but I guess not. I'm gonna have to go with this other one. Pretty sure this one is still intact, but this might be too big. Let's do... Honestly, this is the right size. So if I need to just pop it back on, I will. Alright, I'm going to take my black. And the first thing I'm going to do is just paint the ground black. Even though it looks black right now, it's a different shade of black essentially. So you might be able to tell. You already love it. Thank you. I'm glad you like the green. It's a nice little touch, isn't it? I might have to add more black to my paint palette, which I'm totally okay with. Obvi. Painting that I'm using as a reference has some stylistic differences, which is totally okay. However, for me, rather than articulating each individual blade of grass, which you can never see from that distance, I think it's better to just make it brush strokes. It makes, like, less is more sometimes. Okay. Here is where, actually, before I draw the trees, I think I need to paint the wolf spirit in the sky. And I'm not sure what I'm gonna title this, but I'll figure out something. Maybe you can help me come up with a title. More is more. Well, math is one way of measuring everything around us, but there are other ways to measure. More is more mathematically, but more is also less visually, sometimes less effective. More stuff can be less effective. That's what I'm saying. Less stuff can be more effective. But you're right, mathematically, more is more. Alright, let me look at this close up and see what's going on. Alright, so they do a lot of like blindy. Alright, we can do that. Let's see here. I just don't want to mess up the shape of the head. The thing is with painting is you really have to visualize it before it's on the canvas. And then you have to respond to whatever it is. So, okay, this is the head, and I took some white paint. My surface is a little wet, so it's kind of blending in. You can see I kind of made a mistake, but I rerouted, and I can just correct that later. And the surface is wet, like I said, which is good because that can allow the brush strokes to feel more blended in a few places, and it's just a different look. So this is basically like a spiritual image of a wolf howling. And then I'm going to be painting like trees and like silhouettes of a landscape down here. But I knew visually this was sitting behind the trees. So I wanted to make sure that I have it back there. Yep. I am a lefty. I am at that. It's, it's hard, I'd say, living in a right-hand world, but it really blew my mind. I know that this sounds so obvious, but on a deep level, it's weird that right-handed people appear to left-handed people the way that left-handed people appear to right-handed people. Like, because to me, they seem like totally different sides of like everything, but it's really not. Just depends on where you're standing. Which is weird. Left and right has always profoundly confused me. Like, I still get left and right confused. It's wonderful. See how I'm able to kind of blend it in to the blue behind the line work, brush work that I'm doing with the white. It's really important for the look of this painting. I'm a little ambidextrous too. I'm not full on ambidextrous, but I am just as good at writing with my right hand as I am my left hand. I really am. I'll prove it to you someday. Like, I'm not gonna bring out the pen pad right now, but maybe even after I paint this I'll show you. But that's really the only thing I know how to do. But I don't prefer to use my right hand. I prefer to use my left. Okay, I think his ear is actually much smaller than that. There we go. That's funny. Left-handed people are really bad at writing, like, just, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. So I'm thinking too much. I need to just paint. I'll add some crisp line work later. Right now I'm doing more loose brushwork. So yeah, it is part of the game plan though. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Slowly but surely, as per usual. Okay, so now I have to paint the eye, and then I can kind of go back and forth between the different features and kind of blend it in. Nothing you paint is permanent, so keep that in mind. You can always kind of paint over it, move it around, adjust whatever it is that you did, so don't ever think that you like can ruin your painting. That's not a thing. The only time a painting is totally ruined is if you give up on it, really. Because really what is happening when you think you ruined your painting is you set up a problem within your painting that you don't feel capable of solving. But really, setting up and solving problems throughout the painting is the whole process of painting. And you kind of have to just embrace it and commit to it and just be like, you know what, I'll sit here for hours until it looks right. You kind of have to have that mentality of like, I'm not gonna quit. Like, even if it takes me the rest of my life, I'm gonna work on this painting, you know? I mean, think the Sistine Chapel took 4 years of laying on his back. You know, like, you have to have that type of mindset of like, I'm not gonna quit until it's done. In there, I can work on the depth in a minute. What is it that you're doing again? This knot colt thing? I missed it. I'm not concerned for you at all. Okay. Now I'm painting kind of the Aurora type of imagery, and I'm just starting down, pulling up in a wavy motion. And I can make it a little thicker at the bottom, less thick at the top. Upward motion. And it doesn't look bad. It's not amazing, you know, but I think there's, you know, some potential here. So let's take this and just kind of move it through horizontally. That looks good. That added some dimension to this, you know, Aurora Borealis. That's what we'll call it. It's not quite as colorful, but I'm gonna make it more colorful than our reference image. Alright, so now there's kind of like these cool, it's kind of coming up through here as well. Make that just, oh, wrong color. Lord have mercy. I thought that was white. It was the opposite. It was black. Okay. That's not what I wanted. Alright, that's better. But I really wanted that to feel blended. It's not exactly where I want it to be in there, but it's a good start, and I can always work on it once it dries a little bit. That's the nice thing about acrylic. I think it's just interesting that it dries quickly. It kind of allows you to paint over something quickly and change your mind quickly. And you know, wet paint has its advantages too, so it's kind of both. Like, you just need to know what each does. Like, what does wet on wet do? What does wet on dry do? And how can you utilize both of those to your advantage throughout the painting process? See how I'm working on the space behind the line, the line work that kind of defines the shape and the form of the wolf, and that in and of itself begins to define the shape. I'm probably gonna have to flip it up, it's upside down, to really see what's going on. Let's do it. Let's do it. This is really important in your painting process, guys, to flip it. Okay, and I flipped my reference. And if you're painting something from live observation, you can always take a picture of it and flip the picture on your phone. So it's not just a technique for flat surface to flat surface imagery. Okay, let's round that a little bit. So when you flip something upside down, you're really able to see kind of what you might have missed before, because your brain kind of latches on to different information depending on your perspective of what you're looking at. So changing your perspective throughout the creative painting process is crucial. Taking pictures of your painting throughout the process, stepping away from the painting midway through and then coming back to it. All of those are really necessary techniques, at least for me, in order to kind of accomplish what I'm going for. Flipping the painting upside down is not a technique that I came up with, by the way. Thank you for the kind words. I love it. Everybody loves a little love. We all are addicted to love, and in a way, any physical addiction or mental addiction is an addiction to love, because it's a substitute for the amount of love that you desire. And a lot of times it's a love for oneself that they desire that really is the issue. And loving oneself is not easy for all of us. Like, I struggle with it. I struggle with being positive about myself, but I'm getting better at it every day. And I am trying to see myself as, well, basically, I'm trying to learn to empathize with myself. Because if you can empathize with yourself, you can empathize with others better. For instance, if you visualize yourself as a child, it might help you realize, like, why would you be mean to that person? Because you being mean to yourself is being mean to that child, right? So it's like really important that we show ourselves the amount of love that we feel the rest of the world deserves. Yet in our minds, sometimes we don't feel like we deserve it. And it's just because of messages along the way. Sometimes it's not even anything like as deep or dark as, like, you know, some things like abuse or whatever. Sometimes it's just like, you know, well-intended messages that landed wrong, like from parents, like, keep your hands to yourself, or don't do that, or, you know, quiet down, or you can't do that, you're not good enough for that. Like, those types of messages that we receive. Like, you don't deserve that. You don't deserve to be happy is like what we take away from it, you know? Or do you know how hard it is to become an artist? Like, you better get a, you know, real job, or I don't know. Those are just like some like typical things that people might say to kind of deter you from feeling worthy of what you truly want in life. Okay, wait a second. There's something not quite right here. Hang on. I'll go back to the ears and all of that later. Right now I'm going to work on another portion of the Aurora, doing the same thing, kind of pushing, pulling out, pushing, pulling out, like that. Vertical motion. And this will be in there. Okay, hang on. My canvas is shaped differently than the reference, so I just have to be okay with the fact that it's not going to line up perfectly, but that's alright. Doing the same thing, just created a squiggly line, then kind of pushed it down with my paintbrush, pull out. I'm also passing through it again multiple times with horizontal brush strokes to kind of ground it a little bit. Hang on, I feel like, okay, that's the mouth, that's the eye, this is the ear. A lot of finding proportions can be challenging, and one way to make sure and check yourself is to kind of line things up visually, kind of pretend that there's a grid, basically. Where would things line up if there were horizontal and vertical lines happening in between everything? That's the best way to explain it. And there are techniques and exercises to help you do that. And I could break it down for you further maybe at some point, but right now I'm just gonna stay focused on this, accomplishing one thing at a time. Working on some of that negative space in between the lines that I created around this spiritual form. It's so abstract, it's kind of hard to verbalize and explain it. Okay, now in here, there's some energetic brushwork similar to the other brushwork that we've been doing, although it's kind of going a different direction than some of the others. But it somehow works, so we'll just see. There's going to be a lot of trees in front of this by the time it's done, so it's going to come across differently by the time I finish the painting. There's also going to be some stars, but although it's relatively simple, it's harder than I thought it would be to paint. Like, it's requiring more effort than I thought, just based off of looking at it. I'm always kind of surprised at how hard it is to paint. Whenever I'm painting, I'm like, oh wow, this is challenging. Like, no wonder people don't do this. Like, I mean, it's not uncomfortable. It's more just like, it honestly feels good. It's like the right amount of brain stimulation, I guess, for me. It's acrylic. Alright, let's flip it and just see where we're at. See if we made any progress. Hang on, I want to work on the nose. We did make progress, but the nose is killing me. It needs some work. The nose needs work, my friend. And again, like I said, once it dries, I'll probably be able to, fix things. And just kind of work on it more. Alright, let me see if that looks any better. It is better. It's definitely getting there. It still needs work though. Okay. I feel like all of this needs to be like brought down just a little bit further. That's part of it, is there's like more negative space in here. It was just feeling a bit squished, I guess. And I feel like this in here definitely needs a little TLC, just like the snout area. I think that looks good. Let's look at it and just see if it's anywhere near where I want it to be. Hang on. Part of it is that I feel like I need to stand up and just kind of use some bigger brush strokes. The sky needs to come down further, for sure. Like, quite a bit further. That's part of the issue, too. And I'm definitely gonna need more white. But that looks good. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Let me get white. Whoops. My paint fell. Okay. All right. So this goes there. Way better already. That goes there. I feel like the head needs to just be a little more rounded. The nose maybe even just a little longer. I feel like there needs to be a little bit more of a divot here. And then that goes out like that. I feel like the eye isn't quite in the right spot. Needs to be like right there. You like it? Oh my god, thank you. I'm really getting into it right now. Like, I'm focusing on it because like right now what I'm doing, I really can't explain it. It's kind of hard to break it down. It's kind of just intuitive painting. It's like looking at it and saying, okay, what does it need? That looks pretty good. It's... Wait, did we decide that that goes? No. It goes back further than that. Oh no, there's red on my paintbrush. Really? Oh my god, thank you. I'm like really trying to feel my way through it. Like, that's why I have to stand up, because the energy is just, I have to like stand up. I don't know, it's just weird. Like, helps me see it slightly differently too, so that's always good. I had talked about that earlier, just seeing your painting differently throughout the process, how that will allow you to develop it further. Okay, now that looks decent. It's like almost like all of that is much lighter. It is a benevolent wolf, yes. Actually, that's a beautiful title. Like, maybe that could be an option. That could be a beautiful title option. Because I couldn't really decide what to call it, like, or what it was. I wasn't really sure what it actually was. Like, how to explain it. So... there. That looks pretty good. I mean, I feel pretty decent about that so far. Let's blend that in just a little bit. Hey, hey. Oh, you like it? Okay, cool. So I need to set my phone down and stretch out my hand. But yeah, it's like linear, but it also has dimension, which is really important. That there's some linearness, but there's also some slight form. Oh, I'm hungry. I might need to take a break soon and get a snack. So we'll see. The second part is painting the silhouette of the trees, and I think this is a caribou or a moose. Yes. Oh yeah, and I had talked about getting my boots on so you guys could see them. Let me add a few touches to these white brush strokes, and then we'll do that. We'll take the break, and then whenever I come back, you guys can see my boots. Does that sound good? Hopefully. So what I'm going to do is horizontal brush strokes here at the base of the Aurora moment here, and then vertical brush strokes from there. Push and pull, kind of like we talked about. And it's not perfectly blended or anything like that, and that's okay. I am gonna do the opposite effect, the opposite way with black and blue, to kind of add some separation between the light, I guess. See how that kind of breaks it up a bit? And blending it here and there. We can go back in and play around with it. It's not always a linear process. In fact, painting is very rarely linear. It's a lot of back and forth between this and that, and rubbing it away and bringing it back, and all of that jazz. So I hope you're following along okay. Hopefully I'm able to simplify it a little bit for you in case you wanted to do this as well. There are moments where I just can't explain what I'm doing. But right now I'm gonna take this medium brush. I'm basically gonna paint like an organic rectangle right here. This is gonna be the body of my caribou, right? Now I'm gonna round it off. That's gonna be like the little bottom. There's a little tail. And of course, there's legs. This leg extends behind him, and it looks like there's two major joints. There's a little bit of a curve there. And in here, the legs are spread out really far. It's like the upper joint is a little bit smaller than the lower portion of the body. Ah, thank you. Thank you so much for subscribing for 4 months. I appreciate it. I've never seen the Northern Lights, have you? I mean, I would like to, but I just haven't. So, aren't they like only in Alaska, or are they in other places as well? So if this was Alaska and this was the Northern Lights, what animal would this be? Would this be a caribou or would this be a moose? I think it might be a moose, but a caribou sounds better. Okay, so this arm looks a bit more curved, as though it's picking up to walk. And this one looks more steadfast, as though that's where the weight is being put. And there's a bit of a curve to the body. Aw, thanks, Stop Steppin'. I appreciate it. Thanks for subscribing and just supporting me. I like what I do. I'm very happy here. I mean, honestly, if you can figure out how to do what you love and make a living, what more do you need? Literally, like, what more do you need? So I feel like I'm very rich and wealthy in happiness. Right? And it's people like you who help make it happen, so thanks. Okay. Now I might work on the negative space a little bit in the ground plane more and stuff, so he feels more grounded. But right now I'm just getting a nice place to start. The head is hanging low, lower than this hump. I created a hump that's higher than the bottom. And honestly, it's bigger than that. It's more like that. Oh wow, they can be seen as those at Canadian border. Oh, you've seen them there, that's awesome. That's awesome. So the further up north, the greater chance you have seeing them. That would be freaking magical. Seriously. I want that immediately. That's insane. I think I might become mind blown if that ever happened to me. Like if I saw the actual northern lights in real life. I've come to find that I never want to paint anything that I don't want to manifest. So I've realized that when I paint something, it comes to fruition, but never in the way that I think. So it's pretty much a useless superpower. But usually my paintings somehow happen in a way, and it's strange, and I can never tell until like 7 years down the road. That seems to be like the mark. Around 7 years, it seems like, oh wow, what did this mean? What did this mean? Of course, I'm pretty young, but you know, I can't think all the way back to whenever I was 7, but I know like whenever I was in my 20s, mid-20s, I was looking back at like early high school works, and like now I would look back at like early 20s work and I interpret it differently, and I see how it came into fruition in some capacity. And so that's what's so interesting about it. So yeah, I'm picky about what I paint because I only want to paint good. And like some people, they're like, oh, like they want to paint creepy shit, and they can, but like I don't want creepy shit. And a little bit of my art can be slightly dark at times, but there's always light in that darkness. It's always balanced. It's never solely dark, you know. So that's my hot take. All right, so here's the head. Here's some ears. Wait, I think this is the ears. This is like the hair on the bottom of the chin or something. I don't know. You don't really need to know exactly what it is you're painting. You just have to do it. You just have to paint it. So we're connecting the head to the body. And here are the antlers. You have to look closely when you're painting something. You really do. People often say it's relaxing when they're painting, and I guess I find it relaxing too. I guess that's why I do it. Because it's one of the only times I feel fully at ease if that makes sense. You like my top? Thanks, girl. Or are you a guy? Or somewhere in between, whatever. Okay. This needs work for sure. I'm positioning my body more in front of the painting. I might have to stand up again. I think it's gonna have to happen. Because... Okay, hang on. I'm gonna look closely at my reference, zooming in so I can really see it, because this is like a small little detail of the painting. It's this, the hierarchy in the painting is like, first it's about the wolf, then the night sky, then the silhouette. But it's almost like a world within a world. Oh, you're a southpaw too? Heck yeah. Lefties unite. We were just talking about it earlier, just how hard it is sometimes. But of course you just get used to it, right? Like, I'm used to just figuring it out. Alright, the next step is by far the negative space. Well, actually, not quite, but it's almost the next step. We're almost there. Ah, shoot. I might have to... whatever. So I'm looking closely. I'm shifting parts of the painting, adding emphasis on parts. And the negative space is going to be so important for this. Because even though the moose is small, it's mighty. So we want to give it a proper amount of attention. We want it to feel believable. And believable doesn't mean realistic, it means realized. Right? Yes. For the rest of the night, you're right-handed. Why is that? But are you gonna make art with me? You said you were grabbing your pencils and pens. Does that mean you're making art too? Because if so, that's like so exciting. I want to inspire creativity. Hello, Manny. Nice to see ya. Future mod. This hand or this arm, whatever it is that it has, is more curved in the reference. Okay. Painting in between with the color. Do you see how I'm painting the negative space? And then that defines the positive space. It's pretty interesting. And I'm sure it doesn't look cute, me hunching over my phone like this, but art making is not always cute. I know, I'm excited for you to mod too. The more the merrier. If you put the proper command, I can just plop it in probably at the end of the stream. I always get messed up on the command. Okay. Okay. That looks pretty decent. Hang on. Okay. There's gonna be a tree right there, so I don't need to worry too much about that side of the canvas, but I just want to make sure that this feels nice and solid. I'm gonna add more. I'm out of turquoise, so it doesn't want to come out. I'm almost out of this color. Oh my lord. Don't want to use too much because, you know, of course, if you're running out, you don't want to waste it. But this is the golden acrylic. But honestly, I'm not getting paid to advertise nothing on here, so sometimes I do free advertisement, but everything is an advertisement. I truly have to feel compelled to try to advertise something. Like, I think it's only, you know, necessary when it's necessary. Like, sometimes advertisements can be helpful because it's like informational, but and you kind of like, if it's the right advertisement for the right thing and it's actually beneficial. But you know, when everything is an advertisement, it can be a bit overwhelming. I think I wrote a poem, but I thought somebody else wrote it, but I'm pretty sure I wrote it. Advertisements, advertisements, advertisements. Everything's an advertisement. And then you spit at the end of it. Yeah, it's profound, I know. But if I was ever at the right place and I needed to, like, you know, say a poem, I think I would say that one and just see what happened. Good night, Nate. You love my painting? Thank you. Can you put it in at the end? I can't do it right now. I'll do it at the end of the stream. But yeah, usually people put it in incorrectly and it takes a while, which is why I would rather wait till I'm fully committed to it, because right now I'm focused on the painting. Anyways, I think my poem is Beautimus. I think it's at least a good start, you know, like I think it's a really great short poem because the poem doesn't need to be long, but I think I could probably add more to it. But sometimes if something is overwritten, you don't remember it, you know? Like, there's something nice about some, like, simplicity and something that's not trying to necessarily show off how good the poet is, but make a point and help people remember that point, I guess. It's a different purpose of poetry. Painting in between the lines again. Once again, it's negative space. And look at how freaking cool that looks. Heck yeah. It's coming together. I'm happy with it. It's making me happy. So like all of this hazy green is, I'm living for it. Like, if anybody here has seen the Aurora Borealis, let me know, and let me know what colors are in it. Like, are they ever white like that, or are they always colorful? That's my question, because I've never seen any Aurora Borealis, but I've definitely never seen any depictions of a white Aurora Borealis, but that's why I need to know. I'm curious if it's a thing. Alright, just mixing like a neon shade of green in here and laying down the foundation for the trees, because I want behind it to be painted properly before I go in with the trees, so that the trees stand out nicely. Yeah, you've seen some white on the light blue ones? Okay. Okay. Neon lime green. So do you think it would make sense if I brought these greens up into the white? Because that's what I would intuitively probably do. Just based off of my creative interpretation of the whole thing. So, okay. Part of me wants to go crazy and put like some oranges and reds in there to set it off, but it would be a full-on different vibe, so I kind of appreciate the fact. I know at the beginning I was like, I need to colorify it, but I'm making the colors that are there really effective, so I don't want to over colorify it. Okay. Green and the blues and then pinks are shimmered throughout. Okay, so that's what I was thinking, like green and blue and then a tiny bit of like pink and orange. Okay, we'll see where the painting goes. You have to help me decide along the way. Okay. Blending in the blue to the light green in here. And then working on this moment where the Aurora Borealis is popping through again, which I tried to do this earlier and then I realized it wasn't really in the right place, and so I kind of painted over it, knowing I would bring it back in later. So this is the moment. Again, really surprised at how hard this painting is. And I feel like that every time I do a relatively quick painting, I'm always like, because 3 hours is not that long to spend on a painting, and it's got to be a relatively simple concept in order to achieve a good painting in 3 hours. So I have to be careful with my subject matter, but also it's interesting because it just kind of depends on how you approach the painting and what you want out of it and what vibe you're going for, because you can always simplify anything. So the dogs are being annoying. I'm sorry. Okay, just kind of moving that through. Ooh, that was a bit too much. Got carried away. It happens. It's better to get carried away and mess it up and then like hone it back in, because every time you do that, you deepen your painting and you actually make it better. It's strange. So let yourself get carried away. Moral of the story. Because it forces you to kind of work it out on another level intellectually whenever you do that. I think that that's why, but really, I'm not really sure why. Sorry, my nose is itching. Let's see here. What's the next step? I'm going to work on the face a little bit more. I'm going to deepen it in a few places, sharpen it in a few places, and hopefully make it even better. So right there, I over corrected so that I could go in and add a gradient. You see? So it's a softer line, basically. Mixing blue, black. I'm actually going to take a little bit of red as well. It shouldn't appear to be red by the time I put it on the canvas. Ideally, it just kind of changes the shade of darkness. This is a bit harsh, so I'm going to take the white, blend it in. There we go. Taking the black, and I'm gonna be kind of adding a softer gradient in here as well. Just blending it a little bit. Adding more dimension with my white and using a smaller brush than I was before, which really helps. So doing some horizontal brush strokes and really kind of defining where exactly everything really goes, I guess, like structurally in the snout and whatnot. Oh, thanks. I'm so glad you like it. I'm kind of softening that. I'm good. Thank you for asking. How about yourself? Are you doing okay? Anything going on in your world? Okay, so let's just add a little bit of light blue. Mixing the light blue with the white. And just kind of brushing it through here and there. My boyfriend's making me dinner. He's such a sweetheart. Well, I'm contributing too, but he's getting it started. I'm really grateful. We love a man that cooks and a supportive man. Okay, so light blue in through here, just a little bit, not too much. Kind of move it in there too. And I don't know, I mean, I kind of feel like that there needs to be some light blue in here, like that shouldn't even be so dark. Like, hang on, let me just try something. Maybe not that bright, but it's like overcorrect to just rein it back in with a little bit more depth. And we're also doing stars when I'm done with all of the imagery, so that looks good. This could go up more. That could be rounded. That looks good. And that could have a really defining. Okay. Now, just adding touches basically everywhere to make it make sense. Because without those little touches, there's no structure to the madness. But those touches, when they all come together, it makes the painting. Sometimes you don't even hardly know what you're doing. You're just doing it. I guess it's somewhat what I hear. It's like learning a new language. Like you learn the pieces of the language, then you put it all together, and then you have like a visual language. And yeah, like I would love to learn a language at some point. I feel like it's selfish not to, you know, but like I haven't committed myself to fully becoming fluent in another language, but I will. I definitely will. Life is short, but there's enough time for all of us to do what we want. It's not that short. I'm sure there'll be a time where I'm like, you know what? I think I'm ready. Alright, this is looking pretty good. I'm actually really starting to like it. That looks good. I think maybe I kind of messed it up a little. There needs to be a little bit of black back there, just to show that the sky is nice and open behind the wolf. Just gonna add a tiny bit of yellow in here. Turned into a kind of a gross, muddy shade. Hang on. Let me organize my paint. Let's put a little bit of this yellow onto this palette because I'm using a lot more cool colors than warm colors. So here's my cool palette, and I added a little bit of yellow from my warm palette, mixing it into the white to kind of cool it off. I mean, you warm something up and you cool something off. I don't know why. I mean, I guess warming something up makes sense because heat rises, but okay, hang on. I don't know. I feel like that was too much. It's almost like adding the color just, well, might need to just be blended in more. We'll see. We'll work with it, see what happens, where it goes, because it's a lot about making it feel kind of thin at the top of the brush stroke and thicker at the base. Okay, that looks decent. I mean, I don't hate it. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. Let's add a little bit of brightness in there too. Some color in there, just at the base of the Aurora Borealis ribbon. The Aurora ribbon. I like that. That's kind of what it is. It's a little bit of like this ethereal. God, I'm so into it. I'm so into it. I love stuff like that. My boots are squeaking because I have them on my chair, like on the rung, you know. What time is it? 8:44. Okay, perfect. Alright, let's work on the trees and then see what happens. I think I'll do the stars in the sky after I do the trees. The trees are going to be simple. Do you hear that? My dog is shaking a toy. He loves doing that. He's vicious. Dude, hi. Yes, I quit YouTube for a while, but I'm back on. I'm actually going to be uploading this as a VOD on YouTube. So, yeah, I quit for like 2 years. And I just started uploading again a few months ago. But I've been doing Twitch for a couple years. Like when I stopped YouTube was whenever I started doing Twitch. So, it's been good, you know, but now I just kind of edit these into VODs and then upload them. So yeah, I did like a vertical line and then just kind of making these branches. Kind of hard to explain, I guess. It's just organic, like horizontal, bumpy horizontal bananas. That's like what I would explain it as. Thicker at the base, closer to the tree. Really, that's good. So in here, I might need to brighten it up a little bit behind the tree just so that it shows up, but we'll see. You might still be able to see it. I think you can see that. I feel like I want the tree to be much more robust. Maybe I feel like the blue behind it just needs to be a little lighter so that the branches show up more. And then I think the white is actually much thicker back here than what I was going for, because I'm realizing that that's what makes the tree stands out, is the white behind it. Again, painting the negative space is always really helpful. trying to get that balance of white and blue. It's almost like painting blue fire in a way. Yes, I'm glad you like it. It's a northern lights and a moose. So I guess it's determined now that it's a moose. Because I wasn't sure if it was a moose or a caribou. It is whatever it seems it to be, honestly. That's the beauty of art, visual arts. It's just whatever you want it to be, whatever it looks like to you. It's very subjective, and I like that. It's nice. Connected that looks better. Yeah, there's a wolf here. I'm glad you like it and that you can tell what everything is. That's a good sign. I remember whenever I was a kid and I would draw something and all I wanted was it to look like the thing, somewhat like the thing that I was drawing. Like, that was the definition of success. And of course, as you get older, you change your definition of what it means to be successful, and you're like, well, I want it to be, you know, thought-provoking or technically well done or whatever. Those aren't bad things to want. It's just stating an observation. Oh, caribou has curled horns. Okay, cool. Now I know. See, I'm glad somebody told me. 'Cause I would have been so, like, unsure about it. Evoking something in a viewer is sort of part of the art. Yes, I agree. Definitely. But you can't really determine the success of your art by how it's perceived, because otherwise you'll quit making art once you realize, like, everyone's gonna perceive your work differently. And, like, even though some people think that you're, like, if certain people are super avid about the fact that you're talented, there's going to be other people who are super avid about the fact that they don't think you're talented. Sorry, I'm getting passionate. So I've had that happen, especially in college. Like, I had certain professors that, like, wanted to humble me because they were, like, didn't want me to think that I think I challenged their authority unknowingly. Not all of them. Some of them embraced me. There were just a few that felt challenged. both of them are short men. Well, not all of them. 2 of them were short men, which makes sense because they had, like, you know, ego issues. I'm kidding, guys. It's fine. That's not why. I just felt like taking a jab at them. Wait, should I enter the... yeah, you can do it right now, but if it doesn't work the first time, then I'm gonna do it at the end of the stream, because I'm gonna finish this. I'm not quite done with the painting. Alright, yeah, I don't know if you did it just now or not. I don't see it. Or if you decide to wait. Okay. Give me 1 second. Did it again. Oh, alright, I think it worked. We didn't talk about this, but usually when mods, like, they make sure that the chat is nice and polite and, like, nice, and but if they come in and they're not nice, just give them a timeout first, and then if they're still persistent, then ban them or whatever, but, like, don't ban anyone, like, immediately, unless it's, like, spam, like actual spam. Just kind of working on the tree, making these bumpy bananas. That's the best way I can put it. Maybe I should make it extend a bit more. Yeah, that's probably good. Working on both of the trees simultaneously, and the ground as well. In the reference there's more trees, but I don't know if it needs a ton of trees. Like, I guess I could put one more right here and then just call it good after that, because it's almost like the tree overall needs to be a triangle. It's kind of how I think of it, I guess. Like really wider at the base. Could be a little bit hard to explain. Awesome. I'm glad you're a mod now. Thanks. I'm excited. Just kind of dotting my brush. Making a light shade of green and just gonna add a little bit of negative space in between some of the branches so it looks, you know, super intentional. This will look cool under the black light as well, which I'm so excited about. And I thought there was going to be a tree over here. I considered it, but I don't think it needs to have a tree. There's not enough room. The canvas of my reference is rectangle or square, so there's more room at the bottom. Whereas this one's rectangle, so it's a little trickier. That looks good. I like it. Super happy with it. Am I Bob Ross's daughter? That's a good question. Yes. Bet you didn't see that one coming, right? Alright, taking a little bit of the pink, adding it over here, as well as orange. Added way too much orange on my paint palette. It's inevitable that you waste paint at some point. Yeah, I wish I was Bob Ross's daughter, but I love my dad, so I don't want to say that. Alright, so adding just a little bit of oranges and pinks in here, just upon recommendation. Not too much, though. Like, we want it to be primarily a blue and green painting. That was probably a little too much over there, honestly. Alright. It does strangely activate it, though. We are all Bob Ross's children. Yes. That was the best comment ever. I'm the best ASMR painter on Twitch. Aw, thanks. I appreciate that. But there's some other really great artists out here. I know that for sure. Maybe that was a bit too much. Tone it down a hair. Just a hair. And then blend it back into the blue. I think that's good. Alright. Now the pink. And I'm honestly adding my final touches to this, which I feel good about. I'm gonna have to do something down there quickly, you know, nothing too dramatic. That needs to be nice and blended. That was a bold move, but I think it'll pay off. There, I do like that. It's a good little moment. Okay. What was I gonna do next? Oh yeah, let's add some pink there. But not so much again. It's a little too bright. Alright, it's like overcorrect so that you can deepen the painting, make it look even better. Alright. I think that's good for now. Happy little wolf, yes. The wolf howls over the moose, yes. So funny. Okay, now let's just add some stars. And we should be good. Just gonna dot all over my canvas. Nice and freely. I'm gonna freckle the canvas with dots, with stars. Nothing more relaxing than painting a night sky, right? I mean, if you think of it. You can always relax if you try to focus your mind on your breath. Or whatever it is that you can do to ground your body. Alright, I'm gonna make a blue. Well, I was thinking actually like a dark red would look nice down here. Like, just to, because it's gonna look close to the black. It's not gonna stand out too much from the black, but I feel like it's gonna pull it forward to the viewer. Because we don't want the top of the canvas to just be way better and more thought out than the bottom of the canvas. But that's my only thought. So let's ombre that red into the black. I've got more red on this paint palette, which is good because I was running out. Do we like that, guys? I mean, it's relatively subtle. I mean, Yes, it's red, but it's not. Let's add some blue in there to kind of be that middle ground between, but we don't want it to be like the same blue as the sky. Just tone it down just a hair. I mean, the red is still there, it's just not as intense. It's like you kind of have to look for it. I feel like that's a bit more tasteful. It's not like bloodshed or something. Oh, sorry to get graphic in an ASMR video. I don't mean to do that. I have a naturally morbid mind, I think. Okay, just thickening the paint in here with some blues and blacks just to make it feel activated. You could accidentally, well, it's not so bad if it looks like a lake though. I mean, I just feel like having something down there is nice. What do you guys think? Is it too much? I think it's nice. I think it's barely there, really. Okay, guys, I think it's done. I have to go eat. I hear it's finishing up. I'm making the salad dressing and he's making the sweet potatoes. We're having a sweet potato kale salad. It's gonna be really good. Let me see if I can flick a few stars on here. Yep. That looks so cool. I love it. It definitely adds the dimension I was looking for. Thank you so much. I'm glad you like it. Aw, thanks, Professor. I love this. This looks amazing. I like those little directional flicks. It gives it dimension. Glad you liked it. My hands are a mess. Thank you so much for being here. It means so much to me. This was so fun. Just softening that. Like, I really enjoyed doing this. We're gonna do more art. So together, so don't worry about that. Oh, I'm glad I made your day. You made mine. Have a great weekend. Who do you guys think I should raid? I'm pretty happy with this. Actually, let me see if I can blend that in just a little. I'm gonna take a picture before I call it 100% done. It looks good. I like it. Where did my reference go? Weird. I lost it. Oh, I I couldn't tell the difference between mine and the reference. How funny. I was so confused. Let me just do a little blending in there. They are similar, so that's good. Hang on, let me make sure the head is shaped correctly or it's going to bother me. That's good. Just blending that. Hi. Just tuned in. Aw, thank you so much. I'm glad you like it. Unfortunately, I'm headed off. Oh, that's probably too big. I have to finish dinner. So I'm getting pretty hungry. But again, thanks so much for being here. I'll look and see if there's anyone I can read. Thank you so much. I'm happy with it. I think it turned out really nicely. Let's see.